Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler up at Harvard University for a Packers-Steelers preview/prediction episode. Obviously, this is a really, really big game, so we're going to break down a little bit of the Steelers offense versus Packers defense, vice versa, to help you guys get a little bit smarter for the Sunday game. So when you're watching, you know some things to look for. It's just going to be an awesome game. We'll get into everything in just a moment. If you're enjoying the shows we've been putting out, and we've been getting a lot of great compliments lately, really appreciate that. Please remember to like, comment, and to subscribe to our channel. We're what, Ziggy? Less than 300 away from 25,000 right now.
We might hit it this weekend.
We might hit it this weekend. It's really cool for us as we're approaching 25K. You know, that was one of our milestone goals. 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 25. The next one will be 50. And then I think we stopped planning. That was it. After we were just like, that would be really cool. So this would be the fourth milestone of the 5 that we initially set out. So yeah, if you can help us get there, that's awesome. If you just enjoy the video as well, we appreciate you just for watching. So obviously, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers. That's what everyone wants to talk about with this. And it's cool. You don't get many matchups like this where you have all-time legendary quarterback playing against his former team, right? You had Favre with the Vikings against Green Bay. I think that Peyton played against the Colts when he was in Denver. I'm pretty sure he absolutely did. Brady played again with the Bucs against New England, but it gets everyone's attention because how often do you see just legendary guys get to go against the team that they'll be known for forever? It's just cool when it happens. But the implications, Ziggy, for this game truly are massive. And we look at it from the Packers standpoint, 4-1-1. They lead the NFC right now. And as far as the North goes, you know, the Vikings are they're sort of out of it. We don't need to get into the Vikings today at 3-4. But right on the Packers' heels are the 5-2 Lions and amazingly, the 4-2 Bears. But Green Bay, if you're a Packer fan, your expectation right now, your vision is not just the North. You're thinking 1 seed. You're thinking the path to the Super Bowl goes through frigid Lambeau Field. You look in your rearview mirror, Eagles 5-2, Bucks 5-2, 49ers 5-2, Seahawks 5-2, Rams 5-2. 5 other teams with 2 losses, in addition to 2 in your own division. The NFC has got off to such a great start. There's no room for error. And if your goal is the 1 seed, which it should be if you're a Packers fan, it's time to go now. And how much fun is it, Ziggy, that we get Aaron Rodgers as the roadblock here on the Packers' path to the 1 seed, where going back the last 12 seasons, the NFC Championship game winner, 10 times out of 12 has been the home team. You need that 1 seed. So as far as Green Bay goes, it's huge.
It's an incredibly important game. And going into this, even though both of these teams, the Packers and the Steelers, have had very strong starts to the season, both of them, I think, despite being 4-1-1 or 4-2, feel like they have something to prove going into this game. If you're the Steelers coming off that loss at Cincinnati this week, Joe Flacco's second game with the Bengals, you're trying to prove that you belong in the AFC, that you belong in this title conversation. And if you're the Packers, you just got your first road win last week against the Cardinals after pretty disappointing games to the Browns, Cowboys, Bengals, and Cardinals to start off the season.
Certainly.
You were so good coming out the gate. And now is the time, I think, the Packers are finally playing one of those contender-type teams that they need to beat. This is going to be a big game for both fan bases. Whoever wins this game is going to leave thinking, we've got a chance at the 1 seed. We're one of the best teams in football. Super Bowl is on. The team that loses is going to have to go back to the drawing board in a big way.
Yeah, the end of October here, we've been speaking a lot about times when our channel kind of gets going and we get a little bit of steam. November football rolls around and all of a sudden, guys, we're halfway through this season. It's time to turn it on. By the way, those 2 losses in the NFC Championship game, the Saints lost to the Rams in 2018 at home. Packers lost to the Bucs in 2020 at home. Just got to give a little jab in there. Of course, Tom Brady's on the other side. What are you going to do? Real quick, though, the Steelers now, because we're talking implications. We have to mention Pittsburgh, as you were alluding to a little bit there. currently the 4th seed in the AFC. Obviously, that loss to the Bengals on Thursday Night Football, really bad loss for Pittsburgh, who had a chance to gain a lot of separation in the AFC North, let alone in their pursuit of the 1 seed as well. But in the last 5 or 4 years now, Ziggy, the Pittsburgh Steelers standing when the year ended in the AFC North, 2nd, 3rd, 3rd, 2nd. Now, look, for a lot of teams, you get 2 second-place finishes in there. It's fine. If you're the Cleveland Browns, that'd be like, all right, let's go. We're in this thing. But it's not how it works in Pittsburgh. 3 of the 4 years, wild card losses, each one to one of the superpowers in the conference, or who has kind of been the superpowers in the conference: Chiefs, Buffalo, Baltimore. Do you know how much their average loss is in those playoff games?
It's got to be double digits, right?
Oh, it's double digits. 20 points, the average for the Steelers' loss on the road in those wild card games. I mean, they need to get back to Pittsburgh. Every Pittsburgh fan knows watching. It's been the same story year after year. They get to the wild card round, they're trounced. This year feels like it can be different, but they have to win this game as well. They're 3 games up in the loss column on the 2-5 Bengals, 3 games up in the loss column on the 1-5 Ravens, only 2 on the 3-4 Bengals. But where's the threat? I think it's Baltimore, because Lamar Jackson's coming back. They still get to play the Steelers twice. Things change very quickly in the NFL. So this is the time for the Steelers as well, just like Green Bay, to go for it. The Steelers got to put their throat on their foot on the throat of the AFC North. And what's so funny?
I'm just imagining the Steelers sort of stretching out their neck, trying to put their throat up there.
yeah, they got to extend the throat.
We got to pulse, guys. We got to pulse. Feel it.
But it's a huge game. And for a slate this week in week 8, that's, honestly pretty bad. This game is just an awesome entree to have on Sunday Night Football. I can't wait for it. It's a great game. So we're going to break down a little bit of both sides of the football here. I'm going to let you pick. I'll let you pick, Ziggy, where you want to start.
I think we need to start with the Packers offense here, because the Packers have we'll talk a little bit more about the defense later, but there's some big news for the Green Bay Packers. They just released Ben Sims from the roster. It looks like Christian Watson will be returning to play this game.
Okay.
The offensive line is starting to get healthier. You should see this week, especially against the Steelers defense that's close to the top of the NFL and explosive plays allowed. This needs to be a huge game for the Packers offense.
Yeah, I'm looking at, as I look through the Steelers defense, 28th in yards per game allowed, 19th in points allowed, 20th in EPA per game, 31st in missed tackles per game. What do they rely on? They rely on chaos, right? We saw it in the Patriot game, saw it a little bit in the Viking game, forcing turnovers. They allow a lot of yards, but it's oftentimes a bend, don't break defense. If we break it down to percentages in the red zone, they have the 4th best defensive red zone percentage allowed, of not allowing a touchdown there, only behind the Broncos, Rams, and Eagles. So that's how they thrive. The pass rush, TJ Watt, Nick Herbig, Alex Highsmith, right, who's been a little banged up this year, but has generally been a great edge rusher. They like chaos. And how do you beat chaos? Well, do what Joe Flacco did last week, where he was, I believe, 22 for 28 on passes that traveled less than 10 air yards total. Not a lot of deep shots. Packer fans are probably familiar with that with Joe Flacco, right? Drop back, balls out quickly to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Let those guys make plays. For a Steeler defense that has an average of 11 QB hits a game, it was only 6 on Joe Flacco. So for the Packer fans who are getting flashbacks of him dicing up your defense in Green Bay, the Packers would be smart to actually emulate what Joe's been doing, because it worked against Pittsburgh. Jordan Love, his time to throw on average this year is 2.85. I'm throwing a lot of stats at you right now, but I think it's really interesting. It's 2.85 seconds, which is one of the lower ones in the league this year. But you're going to have to speed that up. And I'd prioritize that short passing attack. I know Watson coming back makes you want to think deep ball a little bit more, and we'll get to that in just a second. But take advantage of a very weak Steeler linebacking group and coverage, and that's how I'd game plan this if I were Green Bay. Do you agree?
Well, Matt LaFleur said a few days ago that Josh Jacobs heading up to this game has been begging to get more reps, and he feels like he could be a huge difference maker. That's another way that you can slow down this Pittsburgh Steelers pass rush, right? When they know you're going to be passing, and the Packers have had some struggles of this, right? Being in second long, being in third and long. When you know that the Packers are going to pass, this is when the offensive line can struggle more, when it's a lot easier to get after Jordan Love, hit him, get pressure on him, force some of those mistakes that we saw even early on in like the Detroit game. But if you can get a run game going, complement that with short passes, set up play action, I think this is probably how LaFleur is going to be game planning, because the Packers, they want to take deep shots. And if you have Jordan Love at the end of the day, you don't have a quarterback like this. So he's not throwing the ball deep to Christian Watson. So he's not throwing the ball deep to Matthew Golden. You have to have those big plays. And the Steelers have given up big plays. Even guys like Tucker Kraft, right? They're starting to throw the ball deeper to Tucker Kraft. He leads the NFL in yards after catch. Number 2, DK Metcalf. Both of these offenses like getting some action after the pass is thrown. But I think if you're the Packers, keeping Jordan Love upright, having options on every play where Love can get rid of the ball quickly, that's how you do it. Because we saw against the Bengals last week, if TJ Watt can't have that game-changing play, the Steelers might just lose, right? All game watching that Steelers-Bengals game, I was just waiting for TJ Watt to have one of those. A couple years ago, we called him the Mahomes of the defense, right? Yeah. It feels like when the Steelers need a play most, he's always been there. A strip sack, an interception, some ridiculous play. But he hasn't been 100% this year. He's off the injury report now, so he'll be playing. But if you can just keep the ball safe, I think Green Bay is well positioned.
Oh, if you keep the ball safe against Pittsburgh, you're in all likelihood going to have a lot of success. And I hear what you're saying again about the deep passing attack. But even mentioning,
I don't think that should be a priority, but you have to have a couple plays like that because the Steelers are 100%,
and it should be there. What I'm envisioning is they come out, and the Pittsburgh run defense is fine. It's a little below average, I believe, on the season. So Josh Jacobs should have his lanes to run, and you're hoping he's a little bit healthier than he was last week. But I'm just looking through, like, you know, PFF and grades like that, whatever you want to. I just remember JJ Watt just went on McAfee and destroyed them, and I've always kind of been anti PFF grades. Well, wait, you like them, don't you?
PFF's changed over the past few years, but we don't have to get into that.
Regardless, Patrick Queen has 79 qualifying linebackers, ranks 52nd in NFL passer rating allowed, right? Peyton Wilson is 75th. You can expose that right there. Pittsburgh blitzes the second most in football. Mike Tomlin likes to send pressure. If you just, so you mentioned Tucker Kraft, 10 of his targets last week, he had 10 targets. 9 of them came on passes under 10 yards as well. So you're saying, yeah, get the ball out quickly. That's how you neutralize that pass rush. As you said, the rushing attack, the short game. But then the more I was digging into the numbers here, the more I kind of got excited about the thought of Watson coming back and maybe Golden playing. For Packers fans, I'm not rooting for the Packers. I'm just enjoying the football aspect of it. The Steelers, Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay have been horrendous in man coverage this season. Just brutal. Joey Porter Jr. plays well in man, but poorly in zone. It's the opposite for the two guys that they brought in. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pittsburgh, what do they like to do? He said, a lot of chaos, right? They play cover one man 28% of the time. That's isolate. For anyone who's unfamiliar with that, your cornerbacks are playing man-to-man. You have one deep safety. And Mike Tomlin might send some pressure, try and, again, cause some of that havoc. If it doesn't get there, though, you're going to be vulnerable. And bringing back Watson, if Golden plays, that's when you have that opportunity. Send both those dudes. You just get, you have the pass rush picked up for just an extra second. Then you're going to see those big time plays. So it's Pittsburgh defense. Again, it all comes back to, can they get home? And if you're able to neutralize that early, you can make them pay later in the game with some play action. I'm really excited for the Packer offense versus Steeler defense side of it. And as you mentioned, I really think it stacks up well for Jordan Love to have a lot of success in this game.
Yeah, the big question going into this game, we know who Jordan Love is. We know who these receivers are. We know who Josh Jacobs is. The big question this game is, after some up and down performances from the offensive line this year, can the Packers win up front?
Oh,
or
yeah,
if not win up front,
totally.
at least not lose pathetically up front. If the offensive line just has an okay game, right? They don't have to dominate. They don't have to look like the Philadelphia Eagles from 2024, creating 8-yard rushing lanes for Saquon Barkley. They just need to play good enough that Jordan Love doesn't get hits. And if they can do that, I think the Packers are going to have a field day in Pittsburgh.
You're totally right. But the reverse side of that, and it's what the Steelers do, if that line struggles, it could be a long day. And you still might move the ball up and down the field. But the Steelers they generate those huge plays. I think they're tied for 4th in the league in turnovers forced this year. At 10, they have 5 interceptions and 5 fumbles. I think 5 of them came in the Patriot game, right? That's just ridiculous. But that's how you have to beat them. You have to stop the pass rush. And it's a great test for a Packer O-line that it has been injured. And it's one that, if you can handle it, they should torch them because the secondary stinks. And Mike Tomlin even came out and was like, yeah, this has not been what I expected this unit to be. They brought in a lot of new pieces. It hasn't been working. And everyone saw it on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago. If you're Green Bay and an offense that has been stagnant at times, they've just inconsistent throughout games, this is a spot where you really need to get right. On the other side of the ball, we talk about the pass rush and the importance it has on helping out the secondary. Kind of the same thing, wouldn't you say, for the Packers defense?
Yeah, well, it certainly doesn't help that Lucas Van Ness has been ruled out of this game. Devontae Wyatt, we'll see whether or not he plays, but it doesn't look great to me. It was Micah Parsons' heroics last week, and obviously he is one of the few players in the NFL that can do that, but you cannot rely on that week in, week out. The Packers absolutely need to get production from somebody other than Micah Parsons this game, because Aaron Rodgers, he's not a dummy. He's been in the NFL for a long time. He knows how to read defenses. You're not going to catch him off guard with Micah Parsons. No. They're going to need somebody else to step up because the first thing Aaron Rodgers is going to do every single play is look and see where Micah is.
Yeah, that has to be what you do when you play Green Bay. And Rodgers, it's always fascinating to me just how minuscule the differences are sometimes in these numbers, but how big of a difference it actually makes. I read before Jordan Love's time to throw was 2.85 seconds, and that ranked in the bottom third of the NFL. Rodgers leads the NFL, and it's 2.45. So we're talking 0.43 seconds of difference here. And it's just funny because, done. That's right there. But that is the difference sometimes between a sack, a batted pass, turnover, and a completion or a touchdown, for instance. So Aaron, I do think that goes to show he's so savvy, and watching him play against the Vikings so many times we send a blitz and he would, he'd send someone out on the hot route. And I think he did it with Metcalf one time, which is like, all right, that's just him being smarter than our defense. Someone blitzes, fill the hole. Someone blitzes, fill the hole with your guy. I know, I heard it. Fill the gap, fill the space, and make him pay for it. And Rodgers is good at that. We were on with Andy Herman this week, and he was talking about the problems that tight ends have presented for the Packers this season. Last week, Aaron threw 3 touchdowns. You know who they went to?
It went to Jonnu, Darnell, and Muth.
Went to 3 tight ends, exactly. So Green Bay, another example of if they can't get home, Rodgers can make you pay over the middle of the field. I think he's been great this year. He's spreading it around to everyone. Last week, Thursday Night Football, he had 8 different receivers. You got to make him pay.
Well, I will say you don't want to read too much into him spreading things around last week. Because if you look at how the Steelers' offenses have typically operated, everything has gone through Jaylen Warren and DK Metcalf. Right? Besides those 2 guys, when those 2 guys are on the field, nobody has more than 200 scrimmage yards. Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, Darnell Washington, those guys occasionally get involved. But if you're the Packers, I'm happy if I'm forcing Aaron Rodgers to throw to the tight ends if I can stop DK Metcalf and Jaylen Warren from beating us.
Yeah, well, you don't want to let Metcalf off the leash down the sideline. But are you worried at all about the Pittsburgh rushing attack if you're a Packer fan?
I'm worried. Jaylen Warren, I think, has been one of the most underrated players in the NFL this year. He he's a very different kind of player than Josh Jacobs. He is not a bruising running back, but Jaylen Warren is explosive both in the rushing game and in the passing game. He's actually, funny enough, the second leading receiver on the Steelers behind only DK Metcalf.
No, that's the thing.
Right up there.
I think I'd be more worried about Warren as a passing threat than on the ground. Green Bay's had a really good rush defense this year. Wyatt should be back, I believe. Not saying that it can't happen. He had a really good game against Cincinnati. I believe last time the Steelers played the Packers as well, Warren was really good. But he is real versatile. And if you're not a Steeler fan watching week in and week out, you're probably paying attention to Jaylen Warren through fantasy football mostly. And, he's a fine fantasy football player. But then you watch him on the field, like, oh, okay, he does a lot for this offense.
Yeah, but he is that. When you talk about Rodgers getting the ball out quickly, who is it getting out quickly to? Often it's Jaylen Warren. He's the guy. They run him out of the backfield. He's the screen option. And with the ball in his hands, he's been very effective at making players miss tackles. If you're Green Bay looking at linebackers that have sometimes struggled in tackling, you're looking at cornerbacks that can be a little bit slow, you're going to need to have this guy watched on every play, because if you let him go just for one, Rodgers will get him the ball and he'll be off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There's something else I wanted to bring up here. Yeah.
One thing that I've got on my mind is the turnover battle.
Well, yeah, I feel like every week we bring that up, but it needs to be brought up, especially when you're playing against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers have not had a fumble this year, and Rodgers, you can count on him to be good at avoiding interceptions. It's very, very important that you finally get something going on that side, because I don't want to have to match Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers offense drive for drive if I'm Green Bay.
Is there any concern when reflecting on last week's game against the Cardinals? Packer fans might be sitting back going, well, I mean, you guys are talking about getting there and getting pressure. Like we did. We had 6 sacks last week. I saw something that was like 20 plus pressures on Jacoby Brissett, but he still went up and down the field. There was one part of the game where he had 14 straight completions. Like, yeah, we can get pressure, but when we don't, we're still going to get carved up. Does that, how would you alleviate that concern?
Well, I think, unfortunately, the way to alleviate that concern is with big plays like you saw against Arizona. Look, the Packers secondary is not going to be fixed this week. Aaron Rodgers is going to get a lot of yards this game. DK Metcalf is going to have a decent game, right? The Packers simply do not have the personnel in their secondary to completely neutralize a passing offense. But interceptions and fumbles are the way you deal with that. Being effective in the red zone, having a sack when you really, really need it. You can give up a lot of yards, and the Steelers have done this pretty well in their wins. You can give up a lot of yards if, when it counts, your defense can make big plays.
So you're telling
that's where the Packers excel. They have star power at safety. They have star power on the defensive line. They've got, obviously, Edgerrin Cooper can be a game-changing player. You just have to do it.
So what you're saying is Pittsburgh's going to have a lot of offensive success. You're sort of re-scripting the Arizona game where Mike is having a huge sack when it matters. Rashawn Gary forced the fumble. The Packers made him pay with the touchdown. That's what you're it sounds like you're saying it's going to be a lot like that.
I have a very hard time seeing the Steelers offense is not, I think, one of the best in the NFL, but it is very efficient. And I have a hard time seeing, as good as I think this Packers team is, I have a difficult time seeing them going into Pittsburgh and completely shutting down Aaron Rodgers. He's just played too good this year.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of the things that he's been doing well has been, to a degree, some of the weaknesses for the Packers this season.
But I will point out, this is not MVP Green Bay Aaron Rodgers, right? The last time Packers fans saw Aaron Rodgers, he was a very safe player. Yes. You have been able to get him to throw interceptions this year, right? He had 2 interceptions last week against Cincinnati, which has had an up and down defensive performance. There were times for Green Bay when Aaron Rodgers would throw about 2 interceptions in a season.
Yeah. No, and even that, those interceptions against Cincy, I still actually don't think that guy caught the ball. I know that they said it was the sideline interception right before halftime. I still don't think that was a pick, and that wasn't Rodgers' fault. Like, that hit off DK's hands.
No, but it's just stuff like that didn't used to happen for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, right? It's very difficult. For his last 4 4 years in Green Bay, we're going to set aside 2022 because that was a nightmare. But from 2018 to 2021, he threw at most 5 interceptions in a season.
No, he's
thrown 5 already.
I think that's been a lot of times what Packer fans have been a little frustrated with Jordan Love is they're used to 5 or less interceptions a year, which is just crazy.
Just doesn't happen.
It's just crazy. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the history of football. And when Jordan Love, now this is what the game might come down to. Jordan has 1-2 plays a game where you just put your hands on your head and you say, no. And you hope for the best. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the team that makes you pay in those moments. So Jordan Love being smart with, again, it's obvious. We all know it. But when it's this obvious, you have to talk about it. Love needs to, on those plays, right? Think about when he played Cincinnati, you're running out to you're getting pressed to the sideline, throw it away. There's no need to try and be Superman. Live to see another down. If it's a field goal, it's a field goal. The Steelers win games by making you make mistakes. You can't do it, especially in Pittsburgh.
This game, I will tell you, I think it's going to be decided on first down. It's going to be decided on who can get the ball into 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4 more often, because Pittsburgh has been very, very good at that. And that's why in their wins, it feels like they're making the opposing team make mistakes. The team that can run the ball better, they can set up a reliable short passing game, they can take pressure off the quarterback. That's going to be it. Because if you're down 2 scores, you don't have a choice but to gamble.
Yeah.
Right. Some of these crazy Jordan Love plays, some of them come when the Packers are leading, but a lot of them come when you feel like you just need something out of this offense and nothing is working. And he gets tilted. He thinks, I've got to make something happen because no one else on this team has.
Is it unfair to say that the keys for both teams are win the middle of the field and win on the edge?
I don't think it is, because I think both of these.
Sorry, what I mean is generic. What I mean is like I'm saying it sounds like I'm saying play good defense. Like is that a fair? Because that's kind of what it's going to come down to. I think both teams are going to try and attack each other the same way.
Yeah, I think that these two teams are more similar than you might think, except I think Green Bay has a vastly superior defense, but the way they want to run their offense is relatively similar, setting aside the weird Arthur Smith tight end fixation. But at the end of the day, I think the team that can be more consistent on offense, not the one that generates more explosive plays, but the one that can do better on first down, on 2nd and medium, is going to be the offense that can control the ball and take over the game. And that's not true in every game, right? Sometimes you look at games and say it's going to be the team that has the biggest plays that come up. And if you're talking about the Steelers of a few years ago and the Packers of a few years ago, I might have said the same thing.
Totally.
But this game, I feel like it's going to be who can just survive and keep a cool head in the most emotionally charged game either of these franchises have played in some time.
Yeah, we were trying to talk before the show started. When's the last time you remember the regular season game this big for either team? Jack said
outside of like a win and in playoff game.
Yeah, Jack said for Pittsburgh, it was the Jesse James 2018 game, I believe 2018, when their tight end Jesse James had the touchdown called back. One of those dumb, extending the ball, hits the ground, jars it loose, didn't finish the catch calls. That was for the 1 seed, yeah, in Pittsburgh. For Green Bay, man,
you could make an argument it's Favre going to Green Bay in 2009.
Yeah, you really can. It's not often that you have arguably your greatest player ever play you in a revenge spot, not revenge spot.
And Aaron Rodgers, he's downplaying it. He's saying, I'm going to retire with the Packers. I love Piggly Wiggly. I loved my time in Green Bay. And I'm sure that's true. Aaron Rodgers would love to dominate Green Bay this game.
Oh, absolutely.
He would love to say, you guys kicked me to the curb too early. I don't think he's anything personal against Jordan Love. He knows how that goes.
Well, I think they're friends.
But you can't tell me Aaron Rodgers wouldn't love to destroy Green Bay in Pittsburgh Sunday Night Football.
People right now get mad, especially in the NBA, of how friendly guys are with each other. And I love I want to kick your ass. You're like hatred in a rivalry. That's fun. But when you're a kid on the playground, you still want to beat the crap out of your friends. When Jack and I used to play in games, like just pickup games, like yeah, I want to win this game. So I have no doubt as well that Rodgers is going to be up for this one. They had the Detroit game earlier this year with Micah. Was really, I know the fan base was jacked up for that. I might, and I don't have a pulse of Packer Nation the way the Packers fans would. My memory's not as well.
Tell us what you think in the comments.
Yeah, tell us what regular season game, non-playoff implications again, like the Detroit game,
not like a win and in playoff game.
Yeah,
because that's different. That's not really about the game. That's looking to the future.
Yeah, I might go with the Favre game coming back. That was, and if I'm remembering correctly, I believe.
How was the outcome of that game in prime time? Do you remember, Paul?
I believe. Well, we could look at either Favre game, the primetime game in Minneapolis. I believe we won. There's a great image in that game of Favre throwing the touchdown to, I think it was Sidney Rice, and you just see Favre doing that fist pump, that iconic Viking Brett Favre fist pump. And the crowd's going, dude, I don't want to talk about 09. 09.
Yeah, so let's not think about how that season ended.
This started really fun, but now it's going to a dark place. So let's, at least internally for me. So let's wrap it up there. Let's finish it with the game prediction. And I do want to say, because I'm sure some Packers fans noted this, Love this year as far as turnovers go. He's 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So
he's been very good.
Yes.
But the thing is he's got 2 interceptions, but there have been a few plays. You think back to that Detroit game where it's like that should have been an interception.
Yes.
Now it broke his way, and fair enough, right? Everybody needs some luck, but he's going to need luck on his side for this one.
Yeah, my friend Josh said, he's a Packer owner. He said Jordan's good for 1 near pick a game and 1 just like horrendous overthrow. I think he missed Kraft the other day, and it's just like, 10 yards over his head. You're like, what? So
and it is funny. You think about how incredible at passing a football these quarterbacks are. Like 2 plays when you drop back and pass the ball 25 times, only 22 or 23 of them are within a foot of where he wants it to be, throwing the ball 20 yards, 30 yards downfield. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, that goes back to what I was saying with the time, right? It's the time to throw. The NFL is so, it really is a game of inches, a game of like split seconds, and it's amazing how often it comes up. So let's finish with the prediction here, Ziggy. I know we did them during the Week 8 prediction episode, but people change and opinions change. Has yours?
A few minutes ago, I think I tipped my hand. I said, I feel like on offense, these teams are relatively similar, but the Packers have a vastly superior defense. At the end of the day, Green Bay's got the better run defense. They have a better ability to generate big plays. I'm confident that LaFleur is going to have a well-coordinated, well-called offense this game. I know Packers fans are probably not. I think Packers fans are probably sitting back. They've been complaining about LaFleur for a while. This is the moment for Green Bay, I think. They've had a lot of ups and downs in this season. They show going to Pittsburgh that they are for real. I've got the Packers winning this one. I've got them winning by at least 2 scores. I think Green Bay is going to have a game.
Yeah, I picked the Steelers in the Week 8 predictions. I think the Packer offense will have a lot of success. I am worried about, or if I were a Green Bay fan, I would be worried about Watt or Herbig making a big play off the. That would really concern me. So I do think it's going to come down to Jordan being smart with the football, and
well, is he going to be?
I think the Steelers are going to make a play. I think the Steelers are going to make a play or 2. I think Rodgers is going to have a good game. I'm just not really believing in the Packer defense right now the way I was at the beginning of the year. I think it's going to be a great game. And you could probably pull me either way, as I'm a very easily persuaded person. But I'm going to stick with my initial prediction of the Steelers winning like a 31-27, 27-24 kind of a game here. I think it's going to be great. And would I be surprised if Green Bay came in and won? Nope. I'd be surprised if Green Bay. I'd be surprised if the Steelers blew out the Packers. I would not be surprised if Green Bay, had a great. Like Green Bay's more likely to blow out the Steelers than the Steelers are the Packers. Would you agree with that?
I agree.
But I'm going to pick the Steelers to win a close one. Yeah, 27-24. I got Pittsburgh. And Jack, of course, will be at the game. Jack will, if we were going to have a tiebreaker on this show, I'm assuming that it would lean in the Steelers direction.
I wonder who Jack's going to pick.
We'll see if we can. So tomorrow we're going to go live right after the game. Should be an awesome live. Jack will be there. Again, Jack's going to to Bar Louie before the game. So he's already gotten a bunch of people have hit him up saying like, hey, like, I'd love to meet you. Say hello. And I know that sometimes Jack comes across as a little aggressive on the show with his Steelers stuff. Super down to earth. Like,
it's going to be fun.
As down to earth as you can possibly get. Like, will not care if you're give him a go pack go in his face. He'll probably say it back to you. He just has fun at these things. So yeah, if you want to hang out with Jack, shoot him a DM on Instagram. A few people have done it already, and he's really excited to meet some people. So, all right. He will not be, by the way, on the live, but we might try and zoom him in from Pittsburgh like 20 minutes into the recording.
Disaster.
I think I'm trying to figure out that setup. I think there's a chance that we get Jack zoomed in walking out of the stadium, which would be hysterical. So, all right, we will see you guys then. Ziggy, thanks for hopping on a Saturday. We'll get this out as quickly as we can, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody post Packers Steelers tomorrow. Talk a little bit more week 8 around the NFL. Bears Ravens, huge game. Not a great slate, but some really big NFC North implications. We'll see you then.